Hi guys. Welcome to the Turkish series Stars channel. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share our video before we dive in. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Now let's talk about what left the industry stunned and a couple we all follow in a moment of pure, human vulnerability. Alp Navruz, whose calm and composed presence has become a hallmark in every public appearance, has been struck by heartbreaking news. His beloved uncle, the relative he often spoke about with palpable respect, has passed away. And for the first time in a long time, Alp could not hold back his tears. Those close to the family had been whispering for weeks that a quiet worry hung over Alp and Alina Boz. The reason, as it sadly turned out, was his uncle's decline. It wasn't sudden. It was the slow, exhausting kind of struggle where each day feels heavier than the last. Alp was seen at the hospital many times in recent days, slipping into corridors without any show, staying into late hours with his uncle, speaking in low tones with the doctors, and then stepping out into night air that seemed to weigh on his shoulders. Alina was there too, at a distance from cameras, gently present, holding a thermos of tea or placing a hand on Alp's arm when the fatigue finally showed in his eyes. The farewell was held in Ankara, the city that holds the roots of Alp's family. There was no grand display. No flash of spectacle. It was modest, quiet, set among familiar faces and family voices lowered by grief. Alp's father and mother looked shattered, the kind of distress that makes every gesture feel slower, every breath a second longer. Alina walked alongside them, careful and steady, guiding the mother to a seat, whispering to relatives who needed small kindnesses. At the graveside, as prayers echoed and the earth was gently leveled, Alp's legs almost failed him. He leaned forward, paused, and stayed like that for a long while, caught between saying goodbye and refusing to let the final moment pass. When it was over, the press kept a respectful distance, but silence turns into questions, and questions reach a grieving man. He wiped his face once, fought for words, and spoke with the voice people recognize from premieres and interviews, but this time rougher, raw. He wasn't only family to me, he said, eyes still red. He was the person I looked to when I wanted to be better. Describing this ache is impossible. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished. It sounded like a man trying to put shape to something that refuses to become smaller. In these moments, celebrity offers no shield. It's just a light that follows you into the most private hours. But what Alp did have was support. Alina, strong without posturing, kept herself between him and the microphones whenever he dropped his gaze. Friends in the industry reached out, one by one, some calling late into the night to say simple things that mattered. We're here, we're thinking of you, take the time you need. The couple's phones filled with compassion from colleagues and old classmates, while timelines flooded with notes that felt like shared prayers. Followers wrote that they were lighting candles at home, that they were remembering their own losses and including Alp in those memories, that they wished peace to the man who raised him in more ways than one. Whispers about upcoming projects turned into conversations about postponement. And, in the hours after the burial, a small statement was released by Alp's representative. No dramatic promises. No schedules. Just a quiet acknowledgement, Alp is grieving with his family. He will step back for a while. Thank you for your understanding. In a world that often demands constant momentum, the words signaled something rare, permission to stop, to feel, to breathe. Insiders say the decision was not a negotiation. It was a necessity he recognized the moment the news reached him. The cameras did capture one scene that everyone is still talking about, a moment that felt almost too intimate to see. Alp stood by the grave long after most mourners had drifted away. His lips moved without sound, like someone reciting memories rather than words, his fingers brushing the edge of the new stone. At one point, Alina came closer and placed her hand between his shoulder blades, a small anchor against the rushing tide of grief. He leaned into that touch. Not dramatically. Not for show. Just a human response to the person who has become his safe place. Those who know Alp speak of his uncle as a compass he carried since childhood. This wasn't a simple bond. It was Sunday breakfasts that turned into lessons on patience, long drives that became speeches about courage, advice that started as gentle suggestions and later became the values he built his life on. The projects he chose, the way he treated people on set, the humility fans always noticed, many say it all somehow traced back to that guiding figure. Losing such a presence isn't like misplacing a book on a shelf, it's like finding a room emptier than you knew it could be, and realizing the silence has a new weight. Before the loss, Alp had been deep in talks for a new series, scripts spread across coffee tables, notes scribbled in the spare hours, meetings overflowing with energy. In the hours after he learned what had happened, he cancelled everything and went straight to his family's home. Alina followed with an overnight bag and no demands. Their friends say she handled phone calls and messages, made tea for his parents, and insisted he try to sleep when the sun started to rise and his eyes were still open. At the ceremony itself, she stayed just behind him, stepping forward when his mother needed a hand or when his father needed someone to lean on. There was a brief exchange outside the cemetery gates that many will remember. Reporters asked if he wished to speak further. Alp listened, nodded, and said he would not be long. Then he added quietly, "He taught me to keep my heart steady. I'm trying, but today is hard." He embraced his father, exchanged a look with Alina that said more than words could hold, and left in a simple black car. On the back seat, he kept one hand on the folded prayer scarf that had been resting on the coffin, as if holding a thread that connected the hours behind him to the ones ahead. Within the industry, support arrived as bouquets and handwritten notes, through messages from producers and directors who had once argued with him about scenes and schedules but now simply wanted him to know they were thinking of him. On social platforms, the tide of empathy became a river. People wrote that they wished strength to Alp and to Alina, that they hoped the family would find comfort together. Others shared their own stories of losing someone who felt like a second parent, explaining how ordinary days felt unfamiliar after such a goodbye, and how time, eventually, reshaped that pain into memory. As the first week gave way to the second, the couple stayed mostly out of sight. A few quiet errands. A visit to a family friend who had been at the hospital. A short stop at a small charity office, where, we're told, they spoke about perhaps funding equipment in the ward where his uncle had been treated. This wasn't a press tactic. It was the kind of idea that comes from love trying to make meaning out of sorrow. Later, a trusted voice from Alp's team shared that they were reading the messages each night, sometimes out loud, and that Alina kept a folder of letters to give him when he was ready to revisit, this time from a gentler distance. For Alp, this loss isn't a line in a tabloid. It's a turning point only the heart can measure. Those around him believe he will come back to sets someday soon, when the silence has done its work and the ache has softened at the edges. But that he will do so with even clearer purpose. The work will mean more. The choices will be sharper. He will honor the man he loved by carrying forward the lessons that shaped him: humility, kindness, patience. And it's impossible not to notice that he will do all of this with Alina by his side, the person who stood between him and the storm, who carried pieces of the weight so he could keep breathing when the air got thin. Here we come to the end of our video. If you liked our video, don't forget to subscribe to the Turkish Series Stars channel and share the video. We appreciate you spending time with us. Until next time, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and keep Alina and Alp in your prayers as they move through this difficult chapter together. And for those of you who have asked whether he will rush back to the spotlight, the answer is no, at least not yet. He will rest with family. He will take slow walks and answer the phone only when he wants to. He will sit with memory until it stops shaking his hands. When he returns, it will be because the man he called his guide would have wanted him to live fully, love deeply, and continue creating. That day will come. For now, as the night folds around Ankara and the flowers settle over new earth, the couple clings to the simple truths that sustain us all: the warmth of a hand, the comfort of a familiar voice, and the knowledge that love, even after goodbye, doesn't leave. Goodbye.